Yeah. Y'all watching the Grind Ethiks mixtape show, and I'm your host, Viktory BX Supreme Promoter. Basically, nah, I mean, nah, I'm Shane. Basically, yeah. I'm here with a special guest. She has her own nonprofit organization called Harlem Seeds. You know, I interview nonprofit organization founders sometimes. Um, Now I met this woman in the train while I was hustling, so I was like, "Hey, might as well interview her." You know, this one right here I'm about to present. Like I said, my sister Michelle representing Harlem Seeds. What's going on?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to be reconnected.
Yeah, definitely. You're my second interview for 2026. I didn't do no interviews last year.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, happy to be a part of the roster for this year.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah. So tell us what this organization is about, Harlem Seeds.
Yeah. So, Harlem Seeds was started in 2010 by my sister Stephanie Francis and I.
Okay.
And Stephanie is, she's, I think, pushing 30 years with the Department of Education. She just became an assistant principal at the JSK High School on 96th Street on the east side. And we started this organization because we just really saw a need for there to be more information, more education, more linking between really good, clean food resources and people. So it started because I went to a school from 1991 until 2001, so pre-K until 8th grade. Also on 96th Street between 5th and Madison, called Manhattan Country School. And the school, it just actually closed almost a year ago suddenly, very tragically. It was started in 1966 in honor of Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement. And I went to that school. It's a private school with a public mission, and they had a sliding scale tuition so that kids, families that couldn't traditionally afford a private education could go to a school that just really nurtured the whole student. So it was a very diverse school economically. We used to say it was a majority of none. It was a very colorful place. I went to school with the same 20 kids for 10 years. And the really, unique part of it too was that the school was founded with a farm in the Catskills. So starting
In the Catskills?
In the Catskills, yep, in upstate New York.
Okay.
So the school curriculum at the farm was merged with the curriculum on 96th Street. So when you're in second grade, you start going to this farm. So you go, by the time you're in 8th grade, you graduate, you will have been there for 17 weeks. And this is like, getting up in the morning and getting the eggs from the chickens and milking the cows and cleaning the pig pens and cooking for your class for lunch and dinner and doing farm work classes and nature and just all kinds of, and a lot of just unstructured play. We also had a fiber arts program. So we had sheep, and we would learn how to take the wool and clean it and card it and spin it and then weave on all these traditional looms. So very unique because I'm from Harlem. I grew up on 114th and Lenox. And, traditionally on paper, not supposed to have experiences like that, but my mom was very resourceful. So my first year out of college, I actually worked at the farm. I was the overnight intern. I didn't know what I wanted to do after I graduated from college, like many people. And so I worked there. And by the end of my internship in the spring of 2010, My family both my parents are educators. My mom worked for the DOE. My dad was a professor for CUNY for 47 years at the state office building on 125th. So education in our family, and we just have always been community people. And during that time, it was really the height of, farm to table, and a lot of people were setting up like community gardens and farm-based education programs in Harlem. And it was just kind of, Harlem was sort of for the taking. Harlem was really hot, and it was in vogue again. But what we noticed is that wasn't a lot of people from our community, actually. And these were programs that looked good on paper, but didn't have the longevity and didn't have it, the sustainable education process and community building aspect that we knew was important and critical. So we wanted to do something about that. So we had a retreat up at the farm just before I finished my internship with my mom. And out of that came Harlem Seeds, which was essentially the mission of Manhattan Country School with a focus on Harlem, because that's where we're from. And so the vision for Harlem Seeds was always to have a farm-based education program outside of the city, in the way that Manhattan Country School was able to bring kids from the city up to the country and really create this relationship with the country for city kids, not just like, going to see a farm one day and never seeing it again, but to actually really understand where your food comes from, just animals, the land, all of that. So Harlem Seeds, with its focus in the first part of the process, was really focused on creating links between already existing community gardens and farm projects with youth-serving organizations like the PAL we worked with. We also worked with the Boys Club. We also had after-school programs. We worked with Brotherhood Sister Soul uptown on 140s. We also worked directly with schools, of course, because of our relationship. So we did a lot of cooking programs. So my mom she used to run the food bank on 116th Street and 8th. For many years, she's trained people to go work professionally in kitchens. So she really headed up our culinary arts and education program with kids. And then I, with my background in farming from MCS and my love of food, I really developed the curriculum with the community gardens and teaching kids. We would, plant things in the classroom. We would plant things in the garden. Not only creating our own programs, but connecting people with the resources that already were existing. And very quickly, our focus was on children, but pretty much after we started our first program, we had the parents saying, we want to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
So it became very, very quickly, it became an intergenerational mission and service. My mom ended up doing a lot of work with different senior centers, especially around, folks that are struggling with health, really looking at from a lifestyle and diet perspective, how can we help our community be healthy and thriving, and not only from nutrition perspective, but just really understanding that these things don't come natural. And as a community, we understood, and as a family, we understood it was important for us to make sure that we were sharing what we knew, because my mom found the information in the 90s and kept going to share that with as many people as we could. So we ran the programs for many years, and I ended up actually going into running an organic vegetable farm in Western Massachusetts in the Berkshires, where I live now, so that I could build the next phase of the program, which is to have, as I was saying, this like Manhattan Country School, a residential farm program that could provide a space for kids to come from the city, to connect with kids locally, and to also serve the local community where the farm is. And so now we're in that phase 2 part of the vision, and we are Harlem Seeds still exists as a nonprofit. We haven't run and been active with programs in a few years. Excuse me, but we are now moving into. My husband and I are establishing a foundation called the Je Suis Foundation, which will start to build that second part. We're acquiring a property right now, so we can do that phase 2 part. But we also are now able to, through this foundation, support children or young people who want to get into agriculture or food in some capacity from a professional standpoint. I ended up going into working in restaurants in New York City and also here in Massachusetts, and run restaurants and trained a lot of teams, and so saw gaps in the professional food world from the restaurant industry perspective, as well as the agriculture and farming perspective or industries. So our organization right now is positioned to help sponsor people who want to learn different trades, whether it's going to culinary school. We're looking to establish our own. And we're also doing a lot of dinners that will be sliding scale based or completely free, and setting up markets here and in New York City to make sure that people can get food that is real food, that's not poison.
Exactly.
And also support farmers and purveyors that are not always supported by the federal government or state governments to do what they do, which is a dying art and so important. And we also, I work in life insurance as well. So we also sponsor life insurance policies that grow cash value. And we sponsor those for children so that when they turn 18, they have enough cash value to borrow against, to start a business, to go to college if they want, to do an unpaid internship and have their living expenses taken care of. And then if they never put another penny into that policy, they'll have, a tax-free retirement available to them. But when the time comes to do that, among many other things. But food and community and feeding people mind, body, and spirit has always been the mission and focus and value that my family has really taken to heart. And my parents have always taught us that, they really.
Your parents, to me, you see, I'm sorry to cut you off. It seemed like your family was like the Cosbys.
Yeah, yeah, you know what I say too, but don't get it twisted. I always say, we're kind of like the mafia, but we don't kill people.
The mafia. Oh, damn. Because you have connections with different, your network, and yeah.
Yeah, but for a good reason, we, it's just in our blood. And my parents just taught us, you don't acquire anything for yourself, just to sit on it. That doesn't make sense, and it's not what we're here to do. So everything, I know where I come from. I grew up in the projects. I had incredible opportunities because, my ancestors, because God, and because, of course, my parents valued education, as Martin Luther King said, the great equalizer, but it's not everything, right? I've attended incredible schools, I've done all this stuff, but it's not a charity thing. It's just we are supposed to, I believe, because the Lord commands it, that we are supposed to love each other. We're supposed to feed those who can't feed themselves. We're supposed to take care of people who are sick. We are supposed to be of service. And so that's what my family taught me to do. And that is, Harlem Seeds and the Je Suis Foundation and all the work that we do is an effect of that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool, man. I just want to know one thing. How does a female from the west side of Harlem milk cows? How y'all? I'm just playing. Because that's not a Harlem thing to do. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I mean, how you feel about that? Going into the farm, and that joke. I told her that joke just lead me into this question: how does a female from Harlem, from the city, urban city, just I mean, how do you felt first of all going into a farm? That's
Yeah. Yeah,
Was you like, oh, this is, I don't like this show? Was you like open-minded?
yeah. Well, I was a kid the first time I went. I was 8 years old, I think.
Okay.
So I was excited because, it was a really safe place. I knew my friends and my teachers, so it was natural to me. Not natural, but I was very curious. Plus, I'd heard all the older kids talk about the farm, so you're waiting, all those years for your turn. So I was excited. I don't remember the first time I milked a cow. I just remember it wasn't easy. But I really enjoy it. It's nothing like getting your own.
Okay.
But it can be, I have to say though, it was awkward, or challenging sometimes having those experiences and living where I lived. Because it was so different and I felt so free when I was with animals, and my environment was, it was violent.
Oh, you talking about Harlem back in the 80s, 90s?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
About the early 90s. Like, it's not, Soha or whatever they call it right now. It was like New Jack City, Harlem. So
oh, shoot.
I really valued anytime I could get out. Our home, our apartment was, my mom made sure that was a safe space. But every time I stepped out the door, I didn't know, that was a different situation. So I really, I was really grateful. I really craved that. And I think that's why I live where I live now and I do what I do because it works for me. And, I'm never going to say it's bad, the city. It's just not for me in terms of a lifestyle. And I understand that most people don't know what it's like, but I've worked with many children and I've seen many kids have, the first time they've seen a starry night, it makes me cry to think about it, just to see what that does to a person and what they think of as possible, and their imagination and their creativity is beautiful.
Well, yeah, I heard that. I never been to a farm before.
Okay.
But yeah, in the as far as food and healthy food is bad in the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx, not far from Harlem at all. Harlem and Bronx, we're cousins. For those who don't know, we're cousins.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the Bronx is like our older brother, I feel like. I mean, you had hip hop, you got the Yankees. Haagen-Dazs was started in the Bronx.
I would say Harlem is like a flashy cousin.
Yes, I know. Sometimes it's too flashy, but it's always kind of been like that.
Yes, it's been like that since the 1920s. Long time ago.
Exactly. Yep. But the Bronx we actually worked with some gardens in the Bronx. There's
Okay.
a bunch because you guys have more space.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's some great projects in the Bronx. But for me personally, I always want to create opportunities for people where they're at, while also creating access channels and bridges to where they might want to go as another option. So that's why I really always value the link between city and country.
Okay.
And the reason why I set off to learn how to farm commercially was so that someone had to learn how to be the farmer in the family, and it wasn't going to be my sister or my brother. It was going to be me.
Yeah.
And I really, Stephanie, my sister, really, we call her Madame Harlem. She's always going to live in Harlem. But, I really love living in the country and I love visiting the city. I'm only 2 hours away, but I want this as an option for other people. And I know that there's people who want it. It's just the how, right? So that's what we're always focused on doing, is providing the way.
The way,
right?
Exactly.
You have the desire, right? Exactly. And so we're building the program. It takes time, but there's a lot we've done informally to make those links, because it's important. How can you know if you never experience something, if you like it, right? And there are communities where people do this naturally, But in our communities, it doesn't happen as much because of environmental factors, economics, and otherwise.
And convenience, too much. We got too much convenience. Convenience, not to cut you off, but I came to the conclusion to a certain degree, convenience is like a form of slavery. You know what I mean? Because when you have too much easy access, you know what I'm saying, on some systematic shit, then it's like to a certain degree, people become a slave to the system. You know, because it's like, oh, what about the supermarkets? What about the convenience stores? Blah, 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 blah. Learn how to grow your own food. You know?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so, and, now more than ever, I mean, even one of the things we're doing is, so we're doing there's this really cool organization in Harlem. It's like on 115th, like between 5th and Madison, I think, at this church. It's called Free Food Harlem.
Okay.
We volunteered there some time ago, and it really inspired us to do a similar thing where they host these dinners, full sit-down dinners, like you're in a nice restaurant, and there's all these farms and like Baldor who donate food, and then all these volunteer chefs come, and anyone who's hungry can come and eat like a 3-course meal and get served like you're in a restaurant completely for free. And like farm fresh food made by visiting chefs, all volunteers. And so we want to do a similar thing up here and all over, because where we are, it's like a very big second homeowner community. Like if people don't go to the Hamptons, they're coming up to the Berkshires. But people up here are like way more low key and usually value things like the arts and not just like partying and all that crazy stuff in the Hamptons. But there's still there's all this wealth up here, but there's also a very food insecure community up here too, and blue collar community and people who are hungry. So we are looking to open a restaurant that will be fully donation based and or sliding scale for the cost, and also have a market that has that same kind of economic model to make sure that people are not only just getting, like, there are food pantries here that work with farms and things like that, but we need more, and especially at a time when SNAP benefits are being cut, when farmers aren't being supported, when people are going hungry, unemployment is through the roof. It's like, we can do this, and so we must.
We got to be our own government. We got to control our own food supplies. Because at the end of the day, we go to school, and all that to get degrees, or after high school we get jobs and all that. And I feel like the education system, especially mostly the public education system, it just sets people up for failure, and it teaches people it gives people false hope of after you graduate out of high school and get this degree, blah blah blah. I'm not saying having a degree is bad, but it's like it just wires people to just be more, dependent on the system, along with, if you want to survive and buy food. Like right now, people are probably going to get new jobs or going back to college to just get a new degree so they could afford to buy food that's expensive. I'm like, you don't have to do all that.
Right.
You could learn how to grow your own food, and also you could drive to farms. Because my father, back in the day when I was growing up, my father, he used to drive to some farm in New Jersey, and he used to get his food cheaper. And so a lot of people, especially in the city, New York City, you know what I'm saying, don't want to drive or take a trip to Jersey or somewhere upstate New York and get some inexpensive food. Take that trip. Forget about the convenience, because like I said, the convenience to a certain degree is a form of slavery. That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
It robs you like slowly, because it looks like it's supposed to benefit you, but it like slowly like chips away at your ability to find a way, to look at alternatives, to consider other options, to think through.
Yeah.
Clicking a button and to like really think about what you're eating, who's benefiting off of your dollar.
Who's benefiting off your misery?
Exactly, and your ignorance.
Because I feel like nowadays you have to, cause you know how people always have a tendency to throw away the new for the old.
Yes.
No, I mean the old for the new.
Mm-hmm.
These days, you know what I'm saying? It's like we gotta mix the living back in the because a lot of people don't know the history. We got to mix some of the living back in the 17, 1800s because most people before the Industrial Revolution, most people were farmers. And most people were going into people's houses, fixing something or putting something together and spending the rest of the time with their family. There was a lot of people wasn't working no 8 hours, 12 hours, and 16 hours at a job. The Industrial Revolution gave birth to the W-2 jobs or whatever. Not to say all W-2 jobs are bad or whatever, but let's keep it real. The Industrial Revolution gave birth to it, and then it made people kind of spoiled, like, and white people to be like, oh, forget about all that growing food shit. You know what I'm saying? Forget about farming. Farming's for bums. Now farming's for bums, but back in the day, it wasn't for bums. You know, that was kind of like the American way, not to be an American patriot, but that was the American way, was farming and learn how to do things with your hands and being self-sufficient. You know what I mean? The government and yeah.
Yeah. And the Industrial Revolution also drove people to cities.
Yeah.
To work in factories. It drove people off the farms. And my husband was telling me, Marcus Garvey actually talked about how, I think it was like, don't quote me on this, but something about like for our well-being and sanity, you should live at least 10 miles away from a city.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've been thinking about that. He's been bringing it up a lot recently. And, we feel a kind of urgency to just help people know and create actual housing and a place where people can leave if they want to, because it's getting hot, and it's kind of like, what's that metaphor with the frog in the pot slowly boiling?
Yeah.
I feel that way about cities because you're right. Like the Industrial Revolution was a really big turning point in how we work, what we consider work, the 40-hour work week and all that. Like somebody just made that up.
Somebody made it up.
Like someone just made that up. Like people who are wealthy don't work 40 hours a week in the way that they're saying we need to work. We see it all the time with big corporations. It's like pay people the minimum and then let the corporate tycoons rake in all the profit at the expense of so many people, right? And that model is obviously archaic, and the narrative that is the only way to be successful or whatever is still playing.
Yo, that's a fucked up narrative. Like the only way you could just be successful is working at a job that you hate, as long as it's good paying, but you become a slave to the money if they're paying you 6 figures, but you hate the shit out of the job. That's when you create a cage for yourself. Money is a form of slavery if you let it be a form of slavery. People don't realize it because it's a comfortable slavery. People like Animal Farm. Anybody that's watching, you know what I'm saying? Yo, do your homework after the show. Go log on to Animal Farm. It's free on YouTube. You know the hell what we talking about. You ever read Animal Farm or you ever seen the movie Animal Farm?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, it was disturbing.
Yeah, it scared me.
It was disturbing. I read that when I was a little kid, but as a grown man seeing the movie, I'm like, oh, shit, this shit's disturbing.
Oh, I didn't know there was a movie. I don't know if
It was a movie. Yo, let me tell you something about the movie and the end of the movie, right? No, not the end of the movie. Remember the horse, the story of the horse that was so loyal to the farm and the pigs that was basically corrupt and whatnot, that was oppressing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The animal, yo, one thing that opened me up, that got me open, is when you remember when a horse actually died from all that work, that backbreaking work.
Yeah.
Before he passed away, before his last breath, he was like, because when he saw the the truck that was about to take him to the glue factory. He thought the truck was about to take him to like a nursing home or something, right? So when he saw the truck, you know what I'm saying, before his last breath, he was like, "Oh, I could finally retire." I'm like, "Wow." That shit was I'm like, yo, that hit home to the mother effer. I could finally retire because because where we in our society, that's what people are that's the big that's like the big bang or the big goal is to break your back so hard, and then later on when you retire, like right now as we speak, some people's biggest goal is to after they retire from a job that they hate that's giving them decent money, then they can retire and be free and be cool. I'm like, you don't have to wait till you're 65 years old to enjoy your life.
Start living, yeah. And I get it, right? Like, it's what we've all been brainwashed to think at some point, you know? It's really difficult to go against that momentum that is considered the American way. And again, even though people who are running the joint would never, right? They sing that tune and keep that narrative going so that people can be a slave to them.
Yeah, yeah, right? And they'll never do what. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hold out, you know, for the, like you're saying, the retirement, or like I got to keep my benefit. It's all slave programming, right? Yeah. And like the slavery part of it comes because it's not an accident. It's programmed. It's programmed into the schools. It's programmed into every bureau of the federal government, the post office, the DMV. Like, you know what I mean? All of it is programmed to make people obedient, stupid, agitated enough to break the rules, to then be put in prison so money can be made off of them that way, or drive them crazy so they're put into mental institutions and money's made off of them that way, and put on pills and pills and pills so that some pharmaceutical companies and executives make money. You know,
and you talking about New Jack City. the pharmaceutical
anything that comes out of the mouths of, you know, pigs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about probably even their own families. They're complete psychopaths. And so as a citizen of this country, of this world, as a child of Christ, I know I get to wake up every day and decide if I'm going to go with the culture or go with the truth, right? And so what am I going to do with all of that is do my part, right, to live as I think Christ wants me to live, to leave things better than I found them, and to help, not to help myself until I depart this earth, but to be of service to others and help other people get free, not just money, mentally free, right? Because people have money and they're imprisoned and enslaved too, right? Like we were talking about. But it's a mental slavery thing, right? It's a mindset thing. It's this like feeling downtrodden, like you don't, like, look at you. We met on a subway, right? You were out doing your thing and it's so cold. And I was out doing my thing and needed a hat. And you sold like 5 hats in that car, remember?
That sold 5 hats? I don't remember.
We were engaged. And people don't do that on the subway. People don't talk to each other. People aren't engaged with their life.
Because they got too much thoughts.
Right, but people are allowing the news and and not just allowing, but it's also, people are under incredible amount of pressure. So it's easier to isolate, keep in your phone, keep your head down, put your headphones in, and not look at what's going on around you, the opportunities. We're talking now because we made a choice, right, to answer the call to our assignment. And here we are.
Yeah. And people got to understand what real wealth is. Wealth is not, because I stopped watching these YouTube videos that talk about 25 ways on how to get rich. Oh, this is not how you get rich. This is how you get rich. But rich is a state of mind. Fake money, I call it fake money. That's why I don't have a W-2 job. Because because I'm in the system, and if I so-called need the fake money, I'm gonna get it under my way. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do it my way. Yeah. So I can't do it under the, you know what I mean? So it's like, so I'm like, I feel like I'm in prison trading cigarettes. You know what I mean? Because I feel wealthy already. because I make under 40,000 a year, but I don't feel poor at all. I really don't. But look how many people that make way more money than me and you. You know what I'm saying? They feel poor. They feel poor. I'm like, is a poverty is a state of mind. Is rich is a state of mind. It's like, but you got to choose what lens you want to shoot from. You know, like a camera. You got when you shoot a camera, before you shoot camera, the camera gives you an option what resolution you want to shoot from. You want to shoot from the dark land, the dark resolution, the black or the lighter resolution, or the in between, or whatever. You know, it's up to you. It's perspective. You know, I'm sorry, but this fake. I could have $5 billion right now, but if I'm not doing nothing with it, if it's not rotating, then that $5 billion ain't worth nothing. And it's $5 billion. What can I really? You know, like people, like we were taught in the hood to masturbate over a bank balance. I don't mean to use. I don't mean to be graphic, but let's keep it real. We were taught to graduate out of school, or either graduate out of high school and get it, because there's a lot of school jobs you could get after high school that don't require a degree, right? And we were taught just to masturbate over a bank balance. Like, wow, I never got $20,000 before. But what you gonna do with that $20,000? Because guess what? You keep that $20,000 in the bank for 5 to 10 years, the bank is gonna steal your purchasing power. That 20 grand is not gonna be the same. It's gonna get you less merchandise, less stuff, and less quality service. It's not gonna be the same in 5 to 20 years. It's not. So you gotta rotate. But we wasn't taught. We were taught just to gather up fake money and not have a plan with the fake money. You know. So because like you know, because what you're doing, you know, it's good what you're doing, because you could always take your fake money and buy a farm or buy a land, and where y'all encouraging people to use the fake money to buy land and to build farms. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly. And to take care, like it just gives people options. You know, it's like if we don't, you know, it's a saying. It's like health is wealth, right? Excuse me. And it's not just your physical health, which is why when I left, so during COVID, I left the restaurant industry and I went into financial services of all things, which was hilarious to my family because I'm, as you can probably imagine, I'm the hippie of my family. So getting into insurance and financial services was like, you know, but it as I got into it more, it made sense that this is where God led me, because so much of what I do is education, and I work with very accessible wealth building tools, helping business owners set up their own personal banks, setting up accounts.
Oh, that's what your other organization was. I'm sorry, that's what your organization was about too, right? Because you said that to me on the train.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So Lennox Financial Group is the financial services arm of what we do. So I work with families all over the country. I'm licensed in every state to work under life insurance. But life insurance is more than just like, you know, term and whole life, which most people are familiar with. I work in the retirement space, and so I help people build wealth that doesn't have any market downturn, and also protects you against taxes in ways that like 401ks don't. So I do a lot of 401k rollovers, and I write a lot of children's policies so that, you know, they grow cash value and they can borrow against that without claiming it as income tax. They call it, some of the tools that I use, they call it the Rockefeller method, because this is how the wealthy build their wealth and they pass it on. So it's legacy building wealth that can never be taken away from you, really, if you manage it properly, but it's very simple. And so what I do now is my focus is on, excuse me, we help sponsor our organization, the Je Suis Foundation. We sponsor these types of policies for people, so that, especially on children, because you can write these on children starting at, I think, 2 weeks old. So by the time they're 18, they're going to have enough cash value in there, as I was saying, to just really have some options. Buy a house, invest in a business, study abroad, start a foundation, start an organization. And it's very powerful and it's very accessible. It's just people don't know about it. So that's why I'm really passionate about making sure people understand what is available to them. And we're talking about like $20 a month kind of thing that can make a difference in a child's life and generations to come. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, you're not going to learn in school. You're not going to learn it on the internet either. It really requires someone sitting down with you and just saying, what's your situation? What are your goals? I'm here to help.
Yeah.
So I find, it's after the first phase of Harlem Seeds, it was really clear to me as we started doing things, because I'm always looking at what's the cause of why we are identifying an issue, right? And so any community, any person, any family needs health. They need resources, either in the form of community or money, to get food and all that stuff. And so we are always focused on how can we address all of those things in the most efficient way. And so much of that comes from what you were saying and what we've been talking about is owning your own resources. So I help people set up their own banks. I help individuals do that. I help individuals who have businesses. I help individuals who use these tools to get out of debt more efficiently without spending any extra money. So it's very powerful. And I'm very passionate about that because then, I also have an agency. And so I hire people who want to get involved in this kind of work so that they can be free. They can get out of the rat race. They don't have to do a W-2 job and they can control their time and their earning capacity and income.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So, I would love to just make sure people have my information and I'll send you all of my links. But just to get started, if anyone is interested or, curious about anything that I've talked about or anything the Just Sweet Foundation or Lennox Financial Group can do to help serve you, your community, your family, your church, my number is 917-981-9033. And my email is Michelle, MICHELE, at the Je Suis Foundation.org. And Je Suis is JESUIS. And I'll make sure I send you all of that too. So if you post, maybe you can put it in the description of the video. But I'd be happy to be of service. We would.
Okay, definitely. That was definitely. Thank you for spreading information. Oh yeah, I want to ask you one more question before you go.
Sure.
How have you ever thought about implementing the whole concept of bartering into? Because I like to barter. I'm a barterer.
Yes. I am too. I do a lot of trading. That's one of the benefits of just having a community. Yes, I love that idea. We haven't thought about formalizing that, but I would love to talk to you more about that. Sounds like you might have some good ideas.
Yeah.
That's beautiful because it's, we don't really need to be buying new stuff so much. You know what I mean? There's like so much that we could share,
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really
definitely.
It was a blessing to meet you, and I'm just grateful to always come across people who are open and who are doing the good work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Then what's your last name?
Yeah, my last name. So my last name is a long one. I got married a few years ago, so my name is Michelle Hatchett-Fressiner. Michelle Hatchett-Fressiner.
What's that, French name?
Yes. Oui.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the unprofessional professionalism. I'm professional with my unprofessionalism.
I love it. You're consistent. That's great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Viktory. I really appreciate you, and thank you for your service.
Peace. Thank you.
Okay. You have a good one.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, that was my homegirl, Michelle, with the French last name. Yo, anybody that has their own nonprofit organization If you want to if you want to be interviewed on the Grind Ethiks Mixtape Show, holla at me and let me. If you have a nonprofit, let me know how I can help. Or if you're trying to put together a nonprofit, let me know how I can help. Yeah, man. Basically, anyone that like this episode, I'll be very grateful if anyone could like, share, and all that good stuff, and subscribe also. You know what I mean? Anyway, you have a good day, peoples, and remember, tell a friend to tell a friend that it's all about the motherfucking grind, basically.